Howdy, guys, and welcome back to Star Trek Online. We're continuing our adventure as our Klingon captain, of course, and hopefully nothing goes wrong this time. So, let's see. Uh, okay, you're saying I'm live. Let's go ahead and switch over to in-game. And Twitch. Let's go over to my channel. There we go. It must have been the Twitch delay. Sometimes it borks out the stream. Come on. There we go. Alright. That was just my controller falling over. I had to move my phone, which I use for checking chat and all that. Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead and play. And while we wait for it to load, go ahead and share. Oh, gotta turn that down. So let's see, Discord. You know, oddly enough, I don't actually post in my own Discord chat because there's nobody there. Which is hilarious and a little bit sad, but hilarious at the same time. And I know some people will be like, well, you shouldn't, say that it's hilarious if it's sad. And it's like, but the thing is it is kind of funny. I have so many other places where I post that I'm going live, and yet the one place that I actually own, like, I have permission to post in these other Discords, by the way. They always ask for permission. Because you never know. Some people, like, I have people who stream who actually gave me permission to post it in their Discord. So that's what that's all about. Let's see. I have one more place. And technically, I'm posting that I'm live to people all around the world, which is pretty awesome. Post. Alright. But, yeah, it's all about making sure that you're not, stepping on any toes and stuff. Like I said, the people whose chat I post into, I got permission for. In fact, when I told them I stream, they just flat out offered it. But, there are also people that I've known for a while, and, I mean, I wouldn't want to do anything like, go to rural Penta colony. Okay. Let's auto-navigate. But, it's one of those things. You want to make sure that while permissions are granted and all that, you also don't want to be, like, over-posting or anything like that. Like, I don't post, like, 4 or 5 times that I streaming. I post once per each chat that I'm allowed to post in. But yeah, that's just a common courtesy, especially like I said, if your friend is a streamer or anything like that, because that's you're basically trying to get views off of their views or viewers off of their viewers. So like you want to make sure that you're not posting when they're streaming. You're not, being too aggressive about it. Like like I said, I have 3 areas I post, and in those 3 areas, I only post once per day. Because here's the thing, a lot of it is the people who are going to watch from that are already here in chat. Which there's nobody in chat, but I get 10 views posthumously, I guess would be the best way to say it, after the feed is dead or the stream has ended. Um, which is hilarious because technically that means I should be streaming later in the day, but that's usually around the time that I'm either cooking dinner or I'm napping so that I can go to work on time and not feel tired. Excuse me. So it's one of those kind of weird things. And I do love this ship so much. Like, here's the crazy thing. I could go to a tier ship or tier 6 ship right now. I actually have two that I own. If you go into the ships, I have the Jem'Hadar Vanguard, which if you're going for a carrier ship, this one is awesome. Cuz not only do you get the same kind of stuff that this one gets, but you get two extra frigates that are with you at all times that will do stuff like up your firepower, um, up your firepower, re-up your shields, and up your hull healing. So that's pretty awesome. This one, however, gets the Romulan, like a Romulan black hole drive, basically, and cloaking tech. Unfortunately, this one doesn't, even though it's the stronger ship. But here's the thing. I don't actually need these two because when I hit level 42 as a Klingon, I get a Klingon carrier for free from the faction. Let's see. I'd have to go to a ship seller to actually show it to you. But yeah, so the Klingons actually get their own carrier, which has which actually has. I can show you this too. It has these little guys in it. Which, do I have you yet? You. I do not. Well, why not? Now, again, most of this stuff was purchased a while ago. Like, you've created the Arcanus Rimas. Yay, I got a little guy. Now, this little thing is cool because it's a non-combat pet. So you launch a non-combat pet that follows your ship in the background. It's just kind of cool. And let's see, should be. It's real tiny though. Hang on, let's see. It should be launching. I'm almost at Rural Pente. Now, this has one of the coolest cutscenes at the end of the game. Um, you'll recognize it if you've ever played, or not played, if you've ever watched the Journey Home, Star Trek, the original series. The one where, with the whale probe and stuff. That's all I'm gonna say. But, like, this is one of the reasons I love the Klingons so much, and especially this ship. Um, that was actually one of the first Star Wars, wow. That's gonna make a couple fans angry. It was one of the first um, Star Treks I've ever seen, which is, saying something. I'm a 90s kid, so, like, that was probably about 1995 or 6 that I saw that movie. Which, it's surprising that I remember that far back, all things considered. uh, I'm Yeah, I'm turning 31. Jeez.
This
All
is
right.
Warden Katak of the Rura Penthe Penal Colony. You do not have authorization to land. Turn back now. Any attempt to violate our security perimeter will be met with force.
Continue.
Our authorization comes from Chancellor Jimpak himself. It is unwise to stand in the way of his representatives. Unless, of course, you'd like to become a resident of your own prison.
Continue.
My apologies, Kalikanes. I am honored to meet you. What do representatives of the High Council seek at Rura Penthe?
We seek a Federation fugitive.
There are no Federation corps on Rura Penthe. Are you aware enemies of the Empire should be killed, not fed and coddled like infants?
Continue.
It appears the spy is as good at getting into prisons as he is at escaping them. Check your sensor logs, Warden. He is here, somewhere.
Our security logs are checked every quarter hour as per regulations. There have been no transfers in or out of the colony within the last day. Only 2 ships have entered the system today. Yours and a Klingon shuttle. Shuttle left the system hours ago. You are still here.
Your arrogance is tiresome, Warden. Produce your sensor logs at once.
So, I find it funny. Most Klingons have that deep, kind of gravelly voice, and the reason for that is the prosthetic teeth they use when in Klingon character. It because they're like longer and pointed, they get this kind of ash kind of sound that they produce.
Our logs clearly indicate the shuttle left the system hours ago. There have been no transfers. All prisoners in this colony are either accounted for or dead.
Like,
Your trail has gone cold.
I love how they don't use my rank or my name because it that stuff changes in the game. Like that's clever. Cuz like if you can read it at the end of this dialogue, he says lieutenant. Well, if I come in as a captain, cuz you can replay these missions, it'll say captain instead. But like I would love to be able to like produce a Klingon voice, but unfortunately it it hurts my throat too much. I'm not a I don't have the bass vocal cords. I have tenor vocal cords, which means I can temporarily go really high or really low, but I can't maintain those for very long, which is one of the reasons I'm not a voice actor. I have a very neutral voice that, like I said, I can go really high or really low, but doing that for hours on end, especially for like streams, will hurt my vocal cords. Trust me, I've done that before when I did the evil Mickey Mouse video. If you haven't seen it, go to my YouTube channel because I think it's like a 4-hour video where every now and again I just go into, ho ho, Mickey Mouse. Although it, like towards the end, it got really bad. All right, enough. We will beam down to. Wow, I said to instead of and. Okay, enough. We will beam down and examine the logs in person.
Ready to beam down on your command, Captain. There is a magnetic field covering the entire penal colony to prevent prisoners from escaping via transporter. We'll have to beam down to the outskirts of the magnetic field and walk to the entrance.
I love how they say magnetic field, which is a term that shows up a lot in Star Trek. Now, for those of you who don't know, and I'll go ahead and beam down. Kagan. Alright. Magnetic field is another term for force field. All force fields are magnetic fields. The Enterprise and the ships use their deflector dish to create a covalent field, which means they produce enough electrons to actually weave them together into a solid state. It's how most of their technology works, is it converts energy into matter basically via compression. So, like, their replicators actually will pull matter apart, converting it into energy, store the pattern in basically a processor, and then it will reproduce it and take that energy and compress it back into being matter.
Horror, where do you think you are going?
I have business with the Warden.
You may have crossed the magnetic shield, but your visit is unannounced, and you will follow protocol. No one simply wanders around this prison. I will escort you to the Warden.
Lead on, guard.
You will follow me.
Yes, I will follow you wherever you may go. And this is actually one of the interesting things. They put you in a winterized uniform for this mission, too. Like, you can see the fur on the shoulder pads and stuff.
Warden, the visitors are here. I can see them, Rogar.
Okay, talk to the Warden.
Your presence here is unnecessary. The only Federation citizens on Rurapen are frozen into the ice. But don't let me dissuade you from your manhunt.
Order the guards to search.
My guards will stay where they are. If there was a breach, it would have tripped the alarms. Our security system is quite advanced. This is a prison, after all. But please, examine the security system for yourself. If you refuse to accept the word of the prison's warden, that is.
Drake is here. We will find him.
You dare to question the honor of a warrior of the House of Torg? You may be representatives of Jempak, but you'll taste my blade if you insult me again. Go, see for yourself. You'll only find the Patak dumped here to rot.
Your incompetence will speak for itself. I notice I'm still doing the deep voice.
Follow me to the general holding area.
Yeah, but in Star Trek Voyager, there's a mission where they're using quantum communications to send information or to send letters back and forth with people on Earth because they have like a 70-year journey before they get home.
Take one of the Jackal Mastiffs with you to sniff out treachery.
By the way, this thing stays with you for the rest of the game. But yeah, one of their engineers gets asked, how do the replicators work? You know, how are they getting food and stuff? And she tells them that what it does is it actually, their computer converts their septic tank into energy, and then that energy is recycled and creates food. So it's like the ultimate form of recycling. But, you know, it sounds disgusting because they're literally eating basically recombinated feces. Grant access to prisoner area. There we go.
Interrogate the
Oh,
prisoners, Captain. One of them may have spotted the fugitive.
Alright. I forgot to read it out because... Like, it's so weird that so much actually, you know, is spoken, and then, like, you'll have one sentence on one computer that's not. And it's like, oh, come on. Do, 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 do. Now, if I recall, this guy is actually in the movie where Kirk ends up on this prison colony, and he gets kicked in the what Kirk thinks is his knees. They are not his knees. All right. So let's see. Where are you, Drake? So Drake is already here. I think he's actually... Yeah. So there's Franklin Drake. But you can't talk to him yet. Because you're supposed to talk to the other prisoners. You're outmatched. Oh, yeah. By the way, you'll see. Okay, let's talk to Vren. Where's the human?
Human? They come from Earth, right?
Where's the human?
Snitches get stitches.
You're a Klingon. Well, you're not a Klingon. You're something else. Still. You. Where's the human?
Is this an inspection?
Is that a Hirogen? No, that's a... That is a guy with a meatball on his head. Speaking of meatballs... Where's the human?
Got anything to trade?
Actually, technically, I think I do. No food, though. Oh yeah, I should... Okay, I have it all done up already. Where's the human?
Don't talk to me.
Okay. Is that a Ferengi?
Believe someone is following you, Captain. Turn around.
Ah, there he is. I didn't get to talk to the... Debadar. Debadar. Why are you following me?
None of these prisoners will help you. They can sense danger far better than you can, and they know the risks of getting involved in a fight that's not theirs.
How do you know this?
Because I'm not a Batak like the warden and his cousin. Have you asked yourself, why would a human come to Rura Pente?
He's after something. Or someone.
The human is here to extract the prisoner. There are no other alternatives. If he was coming to kill someone, then he's a Koch. All he needed to do was wait. Everyone sent to this hole dies. Most are dead within a year.
So, again, it's that weird thing where Cole pronounces the Q pronounces a Q sound compared to Kronos or Quonos, which is the Q pronounces a CHR sound? Okay, you seem well informed for a prisoner.
Are you questioning my honor? If you think you're safe because you hold a weapon, you're mistaken. The only thing standing between you and a cold grave is my patience.
Bold words for a prisoner.
Someday I'll teach you a lesson for testing my resolve. The human is here, but it is a complicated situation. You must do exactly as I say. We are surrounded by enemies, and you will need my help to survive.
Why should I trust a criminal?
The only crime I've committed was thinking there could be peace between the great houses. And all you need to know is that I am a Klingon warrior with the information you need. Follow me, and I will take you to the one the prisoners call the Worm.
Show me where he is.
The Worm is over by the mine entrance.
no, he turned around, so now I know who he is. Does he follow? He does follow. Really?
Puppy.
Yes, puppy. And it's hilarious because there's a glitch. They changed it so that it no longer times out, which means I can have multiple of them because it doesn't time out. And
Neither does his brothers.
yeah. Confront Drake.
There you are. I was wondering if I'd lost you.
You're a fool to come here.
Don't try to play coy with us. You have the subterfuge skills of a wounded tar. Did you think no one here would notice a new prisoner? Or that no one would notice when you tampered with the air exchangers?
And that, kids, is why you don't touch the thermostat. What are you after, Drake?
I see you found a new friend. Look, if I had the time to explain, I would. But I'm on a tight schedule, and you took your time getting here. If you want to know what's really going on, you'll have to ask your new friend. I need to be going.
What?
Follow him. He's running for the surface.
And now we get to put down a prison riot. Because the moment there's an explosion, everybody tries to escape. Did that... Quit shooting my dog. Or punching my dog. Okay, we got him. I love the dual pistols that the Klingons get. They're one of the only classes that, or races that get them. I think the other one is a Hirogen with dual Polaron pistols. And then there's also a new, there's a mission where you get, like, really nice dual pistols that have, extendable holographic blades on the front. But that's gonna be a while. That running animation, though. Let's see. Oh, do I want the reward for quelling the prisoners? I mean, I could. Nah, I mean, like I said, you can replay this mission, so you don't have to 100% it each time you play. Yeah, who are you fighting? How is it I was aiming directly at him, but my character decided to shoot to the left? I mean, it's a short trip. Nah, I already said no.
Hurry! We have to stop him!
Talk to the prisoner.
The worm has slithered to the surface. We need to stop him before he can reach the edge of the magnetic shield. I promise that I'll explain everything once we track him down.
Alright. Exit to the surface. So, red alert. The Borg, Solonians, Noxul, Ilachi, and Zenkethia are all on the offensive. Join any red alert to participate in this event and defend the galaxy. Honestly, there's not much that you get. Like, you get the tech upgrades and stuff, but the thing is like... There's only so much you can do with the tech upgrades. Especially when they reward you with
The human is trying to cross the
special
ice.
seeds.
We need to hurry before he gets outside the magnetic shield.
Okay. Alright, he has a shuttle.
In that case, we don't have any time to waste. It will be difficult to track his movements in this flurry.
We can use the Jackal to track him. Okay. 1 second, guys. Might be loud for a second. Alright, I'm back. So send the Jackal after Drake. Excuse me. Oh.
Those were wild jackals. Keep a lookout for more. They travel in packs.
Yes, for some reason.
Survive on the surface.
They must feed on the corpses of dead prisoners.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that one should have already...
Kemtar, you said you would explain why you were thrown into Rura Pente.
I am a diplomat. My peaceful words were called treason.
How can there be peace? We are at war.
You've clearly never read the works of Chancellor Gorkon. Now, let me ask you a question. How can we win a war if we can't stop fighting one another?
Honor must be upheld.
The words of a warrior. Still, killing one another for honor blinds us to greater threats.
See, and that I don't really agree with. Because without honor, killing is just murder. See, and that's the thing. Like, peace at any cost means you lose everything for peace.
There he is!
Yes, there he is. Franklin Drake.
Impressive. Your determination is commendable.
You can't escape, Drake.
There's more at stake here than dealing with a lone human on a mission of mercy. In fact, our intelligence says you have very little time left to act.
What are you talking about?
Our friend here discovered that one of the great houses is plotting against the Empire. He's correct, but his curiosity cost him. Now you and Alexander, I'm sorry, Kemtar, will both have a chance for glory.
Continue.
Kemtar, your father still has friends in the Federation. They believe he's in great danger. I recommend a trip to the Vor system. There you'll find out just how big of a mess you're in, and find the proof that Worf will want.
Kimtar, you know this human?
I don't. He and I have never met. But as I told you, the story is complicated. What you need to know is that he speaks the truth. There is a plot against the Empire, and it is not the Federation's doing. Our true enemies are closer than we realize. If we want to protect our people, we must go to the Vor system and see what is there.
Why should I trust either of you?
I don't care if you trust me. Kemtar, tell your father that obligations have been met. Only you can decide how you'll deal with the greater threat.
What is this greater threat?
The only threat you should be worried about is me.
Rogaz, you followed us?
You're a miserable Karut. Not only have you broken Penal Colony protocol, but you've meddled in the affairs of House Torg. I don't care if Kemtar is innocent. We were paid a great deal of latinum to keep this piece of Baktak locked up. He's not leaving here, and neither are you.
You're a corrupt Forshak.
That's my cue to exit. Good luck.
Die, please. Get rid of the dog. Which is it's a terrible thing to say because you don't want to actually get rid of that dog. Okay, confront guard Rogaz. There we go. Took him a moment to realize.
If Rogaz can fight us, we can expect more guards soon.
Alright.
You must have a ship in orbit. We should beam up as soon as possible and discuss what has happened.
Tarok, do you read me?
We read you, Captain. What are your orders?
We're ready for transport. Beam us up.
We can't get a lock on your position, Captain. You must still be within range of the magnetic field.
That is not what I wanted to hear.
We will bring the ship down to the surface to pick you up, Captain.
But see what I mean by Klingons make more sense as human allies than the Vulcans do? Excellent idea. Make it quick. We might need more warriors.
Head for higher ground. It will be easier for your ship to locate us.
Agreed. Add H to holster my guns. But yeah, I mean, imagine...
The warden and the guards are approaching.
Imagine how funny it would be if they did, or how much fun it could be if they did a human, like a human pirate, serving on a Klingon ship. He could be first officer, lead engineer or something. Make him the main character. He could even be the captain, really, because, I mean, it's all about combat prowess and stuff. But you make him the main character, and then it's his interactions with the Klingon crew. Because that was some of the best episodes of, like, Deep Space Nine, The Next Generation, Voyager. Like, some of the best interactions on the show were the humans, and even other aliens, just looking at these crazy orc-like aliens, and I'm going to call them orcs, that were just doing random stuff. for the sake of like honor and all that. Like they'd start like insulting some of the crew, so like somebody would punch him and then they'd just laugh and be like, I'm buying this guy a drink. Confront the warden.
You dishonorable dog! When the High Council hears what Gempuck's representatives have done here today, they will order your immediate execution!
How much were you paid to hold an innocent man?
Enough to keep us warm long after you're dead. We get paid whether Kemtar lives or dies. So before I kill you, I'll offer you the coward's choice of surrender.
I think you're forgetting something.
What am I forgetting, Tosha?
My starship. Chagrin now. I love the Klingon in the background just clapping.
Putting end to a band of dishonorable fools. I trust you're ready to leave this freezing, miserable place, Captain. In many ways, I think Rurapente is worse than Grathor itself.
The only sad part is this isn't my ship. The guns are different. The mission pods are different. I don't know whose ship this is. They don't expect you to mix and match parts, which I never got. That's like the best part of this game. Continue.
Drake said we should go to the Vor system. What would we possibly find? Whatever is there, it is a threat to the Klingon Empire. We must find evidence to show the Council.
Agreed.
Transporter room is standing by, Captain. We're ready to bring you aboard at your command.
Well done, Chigurun. Pick us up. And again, that scene is almost perfect with what happened in the movie. Because there was...
Your report on Warden Batak and the prison riot was disturbing. I have transferred many prisoners to Urapente, and this is the first I've heard of corruption. As you know, the Empire does not tolerate fraud or dishonesty. I accept your resolution to the matter, but I am displeased that you did not apprehend Drake. The fact you freed Kimtar also requires scrutiny. If Kimtar were not Ambassador Worf's son, I would demand that you return him to First City at once. However, if you believe there's evidence of further corruption, you have my authorization to pursue this matter discreetly.
I will tell you this right now. Klingons do not know what the word discreet means.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
During my time as ambassador, I uncovered evidence that one of the great houses has been corrupted by a foreign influence and is plotting against the Empire. I was thrown into Urapenthe as punishment for digging too close to the truth. The fugitive Drake suggested that we travel to the Vor system. We hope to find evidence that will prove there is an internal threat to the Empire.
Okay, accept. And now I put that puppy right there, and I put this right here. Perfect. Okay, now to... I'm using phasers. So, this weapon right here is actually one of my favorite, because it's one of the most unique weapons in the game. The only problem with it, your torpedo effects don't work. It fires one type of torpedo, and that's it. Now, what this torpedo does is pretty cool. So you'll see in its description that it does 1,000 or yeah, does 10,000 damage to the Doomsday Machine. That's because it's actually from a different mission that takes place around the same level for the humans or for the Federation, where you're stopping a Klingon that's gone mad and is trying to has a weapon that destroys planets. Basically, a mini Death Star. So this weapon is what's used against it. But it applies Harpang radiation. That is really cool, because that does damage to a ship without lowering its shields. Really powerful. Again, it has no torpedo spread, it doesn't have a high-geared version, but if you hit with it, it applies that. There's a 10-second cooldown, and then the effect explodes, damaging that ship and any ships around it if it's still there. And if the ship gets destroyed before the countdown goes all the way down, it still goes off. So you get a free shockwave. The only problem is it fires once, and then it has a 10-second cooldown. Or, is it 10 seconds, or is it longer? Anyways, it has a cooldown period that matches the Harpang radiation cooldown period. So you can't use your torpedo after that. So while it's really good, especially against more powerful ships that don't have a that have really good shields, it's still kind of one of those things where you're trading off the amount of damage and stuff like that. Because, again, it's a cooldown-based weapon, which kind of sucks. Okay. Up my shield's capacity. Alright, so let's go to the Vor system. Let's auto-navigate, it's close. But I love how sometimes there's errors in, like, the dialogue, because during that speech where he's like, I've sent many people to Urapente instead of Rurapente, it's hilarious, because that kind of stuff happened in the show all the time, too. And you know that they could go and, like, fix it, they just don't. I love this ship. My ship is so cool. Now, what I find funny is one of the YouTubers I watch, Captain Shack, loves the Klingons and is currently...
Captain, we've entered the Vor system. There's a starbase in orbit dead ahead. Huh. It's one of ours, but the record's listed as a research facility operated by Uridian scientists.
Okay, so Captain Shack plays this game too. And it's hilarious because he's playing a Federation captain instead of a Klingon captain. But the Klingons are his favorite race. And I'm just like, why is he playing Klingons? Okay, Uridian scientists. That's unusual.
The Uridians are not known for their scientific prowess, but the research station is listed as a protected asset. According to your ship's computer, the Uridians have a trade agreement with a human scientist named Amar Singh. He is working with someone in the Empire on a genetic research project. It's unclear what Drake expected us to find here.
I wonder if that mission is in this game too. We will investigate. Approach the station. So on the Federation side of things, and I might do a Federation playthrough after I get to Admiral level. The cool thing is they're still releasing missions for this game, which is awesome. Like, there's still full support and stuff for it, primarily because of the store. But Yeah, maybe I'll do a Federation playthrough at some point. So...
This is Research Facility Logner Beta 3. I am Plardos Yarden, commander of the station. With whom am I speaking?
I am Lieutenant Kotu Thra of the IKS Terok. Also, your name is Plardos.
We weren't informed there would be visitors today. How may we serve the Empire?
Sad part is he sounds like somebody who would be named Plardos. We're here to inspect the station.
Commander Plardos, you will provide this ship's computer access to all recent station communication logs. You will also transmit a manifest of shipments and supply delivery receipts for the last month.
We expect full cooperation, Plardos. Also, who gave Kimtar permission to speak?
Well, this is unexpected. You do realize that we have an agreement with your government and Dr. Singh. Our research is highly classified. You do have some sort of official order granting permission to view these records?
Of course. We'll send it right over. And in the green text it says, give the station commander a high-yield reason to cooperate. Alright, it's... I was playing the other game and it...
Vessel set.
Why are you attacking us? Please, we are not your enemy.
Send over the information we requested.
You're completely mad. This is a top security installation. You don't have authorization to access our records. We're filing a formal complaint.
Again, we are Klingons. Our ship is registered not only under my command, but as like a high-end part of the Klingon Defense Force, the KDF. So, in fact, IKS, it means like Imperial Klingon Service or something like that. You're hiding something.
Of course we're hiding something. We're conducting classified research. That's why you are not authorized to access station records. You do understand the concept of top
Went down the wrong tube.
don't you?
You dare insult my authority.
This is preposterous. We refuse to hand over top secret information without proper authorization. We will defend ourselves if necessary.
Excuse me. But two things here. One, again, what I was drinking went down the wrong tube. Ugh. But on top of that, grammatically, and I'm not that much of a grammar. Am I allowed to say Nazi on Twitch? Ah, whatever. I'm not that much of a grammar Nazi, but the way he said that period should be down there. That exclamation point should be up there. Because preposterous and authorization were both said louder than we're prepared to defend ourselves if necessary. You stink of guilt.
They've powered up defensive cannons and launched small craft.
Eat phasers. And torpedo spread. is the only problem with the Klingon bird of prey. But that's why one of your main weapons is a turret. Yay! Blast them.
The station commander sent a distress signal. A ship is responding.
Oh, good. Yep, there's my little fighter.
Captain, Romulan warbird on sensors.
Romulans.
Captain, the Romulans are hailing us.
On screen.
We received a distress call from this station. We are here to provide assistance.
And I love how they italicize the word assistance here in my reply. Your assistance is no longer needed.
Station Commander Plardos sounded distressed. He mentioned a disagreement with a Klingon vessel. It would be dishonorable of us not to investigate.
This is an internal matter.
We appreciate the delicate nature of the situation. Would you mind if we spoke with the station? Perhaps we could resolve any misunderstanding.
Be our guest. Tell Plardos we'll wait.
I find this very suspicious. Why would Romulans respond to a distress call here?
Monitor their communications.
The Romulans hailed the station on an open frequency, then immediately switched to an encrypted channel. The Romulan ship hasn't raised shields. What are they up to?
Alert me if you notice anything.
I don't need to remind you that we're in Klingon territory. The fact that these Romulans are here at all could be the clue we need.
Drake said we'll find evidence, not clues.
Captain, the station has transported several crates of goods to the Romulans.
There's our evidence. Hail the Romulans.
Commander Plardos has explained the situation. It sounds as if there's been a miscommunication.
Enough. Transfer the contraband you just received to us now.
The foolish bravado of the Klingon Empire. Attacking your own station and then accusing us of wrongdoing. I should have expected something like this. Very well. We'll communicate in terms you can understand.
And then the thing that should make many Trekkies angry, and those of us who love both Star Wars and Star Trek very happy. Boring conversation anyways. Battle stations! Now, if I was playing a Romulan character, I could fly that. I keep hitting the scroll wheel to try and go faster.
More Romulan ships dropping out of war. Interesting. One of the Romulans is firing on the other. The other Romulan ship could belong to this relatively near it.
This is Commander Kelleck of the Romulan Republic. We are here to cooperate with the Klingon Empire.
Hey! I think I hit their heavy torpedo before it hit their ally ship. Take items. Communication arrays.
The Romulan Republic is thankful for your assistance. We had tracked the Tal Shiar to this system, but we would have been outmatched without your aid.
You fought well for a Romulan.
The Romulan Republic faces many challenges, but conflict with the Klingon Empire should not be one of them. As a gesture of good faith, I'll share with you information that you might find to be of value.
I'm listening.
We believe Tal Shiar agents are collaborating with operatives in the Klingon Empire to steal weaponry and technology. We have uncovered large supplies of Klingon weapons on the planet Nimbus 3 that we believe are being stockpiled there by agents of the Empress. The stolen goods are being transferred through several facilities in the local sector, including this science station.
Do you have proof of this?
The shipping manifests on the supply crates and the weapons themselves. By tracking the flow of goods, we've learned that there are agents in the Klingon Empire transferring stolen supplies to the Tal Shiar. Those supplies are being stockpiled on Nimbus 3. If you will help track down the source of those weapons, we will share our data with you.
Send us the data, but we make no promises.
Transferring the data now. We expect the Klingon Empire to track down the source of these stolen goods and punish those responsible before more weapons fall into the wrong hands. If we discover any further information, we will notify the Empire's ambassador on Mol Rihan.
Get me that Quo, Plartos. Which, by the way, contextually, Quo basically translates into a, either female dog or, you know, piece of...
Please listen to me. We were only following protocol. We must ensure that our research doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Then why are you trading in stolen goods?
We didn't know the shipments we were transferring were stolen. I was told that the crates were medical supplies needed on the war front. We didn't ask questions. Please, show mercy. We were only doing what we were ordered to do.
Then do as you're told and send me the data I want.
Due to present circumstances, we will forego normal security authorization and provide the files you have requested. We live to serve the Empire.
Transfer the files before I lose my patience.
We've received the data that Kemtar requested, Captain. It will take some time to analyze these files and track the source of the shipments. In the meantime, we are prepared to leave the system on your command.
Depart system.
Your officers have analyzed the shipping logs from the research facility. Their findings confirm what the Romulan Republic officer told us. Someone has been routing technology and weapons to the Tal Shiar, and they are going to great lengths to cover their tracks.
Do you believe a great house is involved?
An operation of this magnitude would require the resources of one of the houses, but the shipments are being routed in such a way to conceal their point of origin. Our evidence is circumstantial. It was my eagerness to point fingers without proof that landed me in Urapenthe in the first place. We must exercise patience and wait for our prey to reveal themselves.
Drake mentioned your father.
My father is Ambassador Worf. He has many friends and many enemies. I tried to convince him that one of the houses was moving in the shadows against us. He either didn't believe me or didn't care. Either way, he made his decision when he refused to act after I was sent to Urapinthe. His pride is a weakness our enemy will try to exploit.
Okay, if you're gonna call it Urapinthe, don't have them start calling it Rurapente in the beginning of the game, and then change it. And it's a fantasy world. Why are you putting an R in the first place? Right? It's like there's a capital R, and you pronounce every other letter in the name. Ura, Penthe. But the first R is silent because reasons? And it wasn't silent when we first went there? Perhaps I can persuade him to listen.
You can try, but we must be prepared if he doesn't. We should at least warn him of the danger, even if he refuses to see the knife at his throat.
Don't worry. We will be there if they strike. Okay, go to Quonos. I will transwarp there. Get there a little bit faster. Hi, Coco. Go to Quonos system. Oh. Is that what I think it is? Oh man, look at that fleet. That is beautiful. Hey, Romulans. And go. So if you make a Romulan character, you actually get to choose after the initial missions, like this one, if you join the Federation or the Klingons. Now, I usually choose the Klingons because I just like them better. But the Federation, I will say this, for the Romulans, gets better gear. So... Wait, there's 0 not... Then what is this? Why am I seeing this? Oh well. Beam the first city. So again, that's one of the best parts about this game is the different stuff that you can do. Because, like I said, each race gets its own stuff that it can wear and all that jazz. I have a keep. I have a keep. I have a keep, and you can't escape. Ask Worf to listen to your story.
Perhaps. First, tell me who you are.
I am Lieutenant Kotu Tra of the IKS Terok.
Greetings. How may I assist you?
We need to speak privately.
That is an odd request. We stand in the courtyard of the Great Hall, and honor has no need of secrecy. If you cannot speak your mind in this place, then I have no desire to hear what you have to say.
See, and that is an arrogant statement right there. Because the whole reason to speak silently, what if I was about to inform him of something tragic? You know, something he doesn't want the other ambassadors to see or whatnot. But, very well, I'm here with your son, Kimtar.
That is not my son's name. If Kimtar wishes to talk, tell him to come and speak to me. I will not communicate through intermediaries.
He said you are both in great danger.
He is the only one in danger. Unless you have been foolish enough to listen to his tales. But you have already made that mistake. If you have spoken to him, then you have been to Rurapente.
See, right there, Rurapente, not Urapente. I mean, what the heck? That is like, you have 3 to 4 missions all in a row using this name. And you have 3 different NPCs speaking the name differently from the very first introduction. And one of the NPCs said it one way the first time and one way the second time. A great house is plotting your death.
I am Gintok to the House of Martok. Lady Sorella has declared vengeance on the House of Jimpok. It would not surprise me if all the great houses wish me dead. Tell my son that I am capable of defending myself.
The Romulans are involved.
Romulans? That does not make sense. Jimpok's position towards the Federation and the Tal Shiar is very clear. And in this, he has my house's full support. It would be foolish for any house to make such a connection. However, I would not be surprised to hear you mention the House of Duras.
And see, that is how politics should be. You agree or disagree with a person on their stance, not their party. You don't care about their house. You care about things like if they want to raise or lower your taxes. If they want to pass, restrictive laws like gun control. Or if they, want you to protect yourself. If they want to defund your police or increase police patrols in troubled areas. That kind of stuff. We don't know if Duras is involved.
And that is exactly the sort of accusation that landed my son in a penal colony. Tell Kimtar that unless he has proof, he should stay silent. If he is a fugitive from Rurapente, he will only make his situation worse. I do not want to know any more about what you two are plotting.
I'll tell him. I should also probably mention to, Worf that his son was that the guards were paid to keep his son there. Kind of give legitimacy to his son's entire claims and stuff like that.
Has Worf agreed to speak to us?
He said that your name is not Kimtar.
What name I use is not important. Did you tell him what we've learned?
He did not seem concerned. Also, that is not the floor in the background. Ugh. Okay, see, that kind of stuff gets to me, because in the show they paid very careful attention to details like this. See, this is supposed to be you're holding your communicator in front of your face, which this is 40 years after Voyager. We should be a lot more advanced, but that's besides the point. The background, notice it's changed since the last time we've had this, so the background should be this here, because same tiles in certain areas. These tiles are in a wave pattern. These tiles are squares.
Did you tell him the Romulans are involved?
He mentioned House Duras.
Given their history, I've considered the possibility that the House of Duras might be involved. Is he at least willing to review our evidence?
He wants nothing to do with our investigation.
Yai-cha! He is a stubborn old man and he is going to get himself killed.
We should at least warn House Martok.
Agreed. If the Jintok to House Martok will not listen, we will take our concerns to the house itself. Martok's son Drex is off-world. I will contact Lady Sorella and arrange a meeting.
Don't be discouraged. He didn't sound all that discouraged. This would be a quapla moment, yeah, we're getting to it.
These events are very disturbing. They paint a picture of a large conspiracy against prominent houses of the Empire. I will work with my contacts to see what else I can learn. and I will notify you when I have enough leads to further our investigation.
Continue.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Alright, up hull capacity.
Sorella, Lady of the House of Martok, has requested that you meet her at the House Estate in the Ketha Lowlands. She did not explain why she wanted to see you, but I expect that she has some tasks she would like completed. The House of Martok has lost much prestige since I took the Chancellor's seat. But they still have many allies among the KDF, and I am loath to reject Cirilla's request without a good reason. Gaining the favor of the House of Martok could serve you well. But remember, they have many enemies. I harbor no ill towards Cirilla, but do not get caught up in her vengeance against me. It would not be in your best interest.
Accept.
Serve the Empire well. Kapla!
Alright. I am going for a quick bio break and probably to grab myself some coffee. So I will be right back. Okay. Gotta use the restroom real quick. Can you get me coffee? Okay.
Actually, I was thinking of going for a nap.
Oh. Alright, I am back. So, let's exit out of that. Go and do this because that is what I do. And let's do the thing. Begin bringing down the house. Travel to the Kethag Lowlands. Thrak. Accept.
The estate of House Martok. It has been too long. After Gowron stripped my house of its titles and lands, this place became my home. I will defend it and House Martok to my final breath. Come, Lady Sorella waits for us ahead. Believe me when I say it is unwise to keep her waiting.
Continue. Now, so I've never been able to watch a full Star Trek series. So some of the references and stuff in this game do kind of go over my head. I'm not like one of the most hardcore fans. I've always been more fascinated with the technology, which is why I know how the warp drive works. I know how the I know the theory behind how the warp drive works. I know the theory behind how the replicators work and how the holograms work and stuff like that. But like I don't think I got to watch when Gowron stripped his house of their titles, because that was in the TV show back when I was younger, and it would play later at night. And being raised in a Christian household, when shows decided to go and do like sex scenes and stuff like that, my mom would kind of cut it off. And I'm gonna summon my jackal now. And unfortunately, who the heck? Hiss has invited you to join the 4th Hellhounds of Sto-vo-kor. Okay, so never do this. This is the most predatory behavior I've seen. And like, I've seen some bad behavior in games like MMOs and stuff, but this is not how you ask for people to join things like your fleets and guilds. You should always whisper them first, or go into a looking for fleet or guild channel. So notice how it just randomly popped up in front of my screen. If I was actually in combat and stuff, I would have, or going through menus, I might have clicked on that and randomly been assigned into a fleet. Now, if you guys see me playing and you want me to join a fleet, because each character can join a different fleet, either whisper me and be like, hey, I watched your video, and I'd love to have you in my fleet. Could you please join? And I will say yay or nay. Or, you know, you go into my comments and say, hey, I'm in charge of this fleet. I'm going to message you. Like, you go into my chat or my comments and be like, hey, would you like to join a fleet? I got this one here that I'd love to have you as a part of. You don't just send me a fleet invite while I'm doing missions and stuff like that. That's wrong.
Welcome. I will skip the usual pleasantries. We have serious matters to discuss. The House of Martok has many enemies. Some of them seek to curry favor with Gempok, or the House of Duras, by striking at us. Until now, most of these attacks have been little more than a nuisance.
Continue.
But now we know that an enemy may be plotting to assassinate Worf, and my grandson, Maven, may also be a target.
continue.
The filthy Baktag willing to carry out such dishonorable attacks must be stopped. And so, I ask you to find these assassins and eliminate them.
We will do what we can to assist you, Lady Cirilla.
Any threat to House Martok will be dealt with, my lady. On that, you have my word as a warrior. Where is Maven now?
He is on his way to the Batleth tournament on Forcus 3 with your father. Worf assured me that he would handle security matters during the trip, but that was before you reported your findings to me.
And see, here's what I find hilarious. A wise person, or a smart enemy, or a smart person, hearing that her son was going to a Batleth tournament, would realize, hey, they're going to try and kill him there because they can make it look like an accident. We should go to Forcus 3 as well.
Before you go, I have another concern. Our local farmers reported seeing a Romulan here recently. Given Kemtar's suspicions of a house collaborating with the Tal Shiar, it seems to be an odd coincidence. We need to know what the Romulan was doing here before you leave for the tournament.
That is indeed suspicious. We will investigate at once. Now, here's the silly thing. She has her own security force that she could have investigating. Us being here, helping her out, while it is smart, also means that the Romulans and whoever is plotting against her house has more time at the Batleth tournament to get set up and situated. Talk to the farm manager.
A Romulan? Here? Once I would have considered that impossible. But we live in strange times. Maybe they have come to their senses and joined with the Empire against the Federation. I haven't seen this Romulan myself, but one of the others might have. You have my leave to speak with the workers. One of them might have seen your pointy-eared interloper about.
I'll see what they have to say.
Of what interest is a Klingon farm to a Romulan?
Well, I mean, isn't that obvious? One is a farm of the Great House. Two, you take out food supply. You take out an entire... Like, if you take out... Why must these targs uproot my vegetables? And then something about rain. This year will be bountiful. But you take out a farm and you can wipe out a planet's military. Because an army marches on its stomach. Now, it's harder with things like Klingons because, you know, if they're low on food, they will go and raid a farming colony. They give no,
The only thing I've paid attention to of late has been the lack of rain. But you're a warrior, not a farmer. You wouldn't be interested in that. Sorry I couldn't help you.
All Klingons are warriors, and an enemy may be near. Remain vigilant. Also, I love how he's like, this year will be bountiful. There's no rain. It's like, those are two different comments right there. But, yeah, honestly, if I wanted to show a Klingon that was worried about the rain... See, these look to be coming in nicely this season. Weren't they just complaining about no rain? But, again, if I wanted a Klingon to be worried about rain, I'd have him yelling at the sky. Right? Because that seems like a Klingon thing to do. And that guy just said something about, see, I hope it rains soon so plants could use it. Now they're complaining about the rain. And then this year will be bountiful. Talk to Farmer.
The Togs have been busy tearing up my roots. But other than that, I haven't seen anything unusual.
I see. Targs are persistent creatures, as are Romulans. Oh, watch this. Okay, so. Where's my Jackal Mastiff? Okay. Dr. Farmer.
I remember seeing the Romulan. He said he was a surveyor hired to architect a new irrigation system. He set up equipment on the hill over there, but I haven't seen him lately. It wouldn't surprise me if he's up to no good. You can never trust a Romulan.
Continue. That's always good to know.
This surveyor may be more than he seems. The idea of a Romulan moving alone freely on estate grounds? I do not like where this is going. Let's follow his steps. Doing so could lead to insight on the Romulan's actions.
Agreed. Let's follow that path up to the top of the hill. So, that is one problem with this game. They interrupt you a lot. Like, here's the thing. I didn't need that second window to pop up. Once the farmer told me that it was up on the hill and my mini-map updated, that should have been the end of it. Right? Because you don't need to hold my hand, especially in a Star Wars game. The thing about... I did it again. As you can tell, I like Star Wars a lot more than Star Trek. But I do still love Star Trek. So, especially in a Star Trek game. See, in a Star Wars game, I could kind of accept it. But this is a Star...
See the equipment there. It is definitely Romulan tech.
Yep. Or you could do it like that. See, that interruption wasn't as jarring as randomly huge face on my screen. You know? What they should have done is have it where your character turns towards him, he says his piece, and then you can move on instead of having to hit continue. Yeah, this is a Star Trek game. Trekkies are supposed to be some of the smartest people on the planet. There are colleges that will give you grants, or, grants and, scholarships for speaking Klingon. So
that is definitely Romulan gear, but it is not surveying equipment.
See, and what is it then? And then he'll tell you that it's a detonator. I already know that it's the detonator. That's the logical conclusion to finding it here, and it not being surveying equipment. So, I mean, it's a Star Trek game. Why is it holding my hands so much? And don't get me wrong, it's a good game. A lot of the mechanics are fun. A lot of it is really easy to understand. But again, Trekkies are some of the most intelligent people on the planet. Why is the game holding their hands so much? That is the only problem I have with it. What is it, then?
It is a short-range EM transmitter, not something a surveyor would use, Romulan or otherwise. I have a bad feeling about this. Disable it at once.
I will deal with it myself. And see, I'm an engineer, but watch this. Destroy equipment. Hit it with a hammer.
We still have a suspicious Romulan on the loose, however.
Indeed.
There is a shipping and receiving area nearby, close to a landing pad. I suggest speaking with the workers there. They may have seen our mysterious surveyor recently.
Okay, so if they were smart, and again, this is kind of me going on a rant, because since there's nobody in chat, I do kind of need something to talk about. But if they were smart, he would have said, there is a shipping and receiving area nearby. Doesn't need to close to a landing pad. It makes sense that it's close to a landing pad, because the landing pad is where you would get the shipments from. Right? If you're receiving shipments, it should be next to a landing pad. It would be like, oh yeah, go into the back room and help pull freight, but the truck is all the way over on the other side of the store. That's not how it works. So, that part didn't need to be said. I suggest speaking to the workers there. You could have cut it off there. Or just say they may have seen our Romulan. Again, short, concise. This is kind of a writing tip. Because right now, the way that they have this written, again, feels very hand-holdy. They're not letting us reach our own conclusions. They're not even letting us reach our own conclusions as to what we should be doing. A good plan. We might pick up the trail there. Again, a good plan would have worked. Or we might pick up the trail there, or then. Would have worked. You don't need both. Doing both just makes it redundant, and again, takes it away from your decision, you know? If you've ever played D&D and stuff like that, which game designers should, because game design is based off of games like that, they should know that you give people detailed descriptions on locations, or you show them a detailed description of a location. But see, if they want me to go looking for somebody, they should say that I'm looking for a Klingon of the House of, Duras or whatever, that has a unique piece of clothing on or something like that. Kind of like what you would see more for a console game. Because being told, oh, go here, talk to this person, is a little bit, like I said, railroady. And any DM would tell you that's not how you want to play a game. Now, MMOs require minimaps, because a lot of the times it's in a wide area. That is fine. Mark it on my minimap and have me go here and be like, oh, you want to talk to, the Klingon with the scanner. Because if you look, he's one of the only people with an actual scanner.
Yes, I remember this man. It's not every day you see a Romulan in the Ketha lowlands. He didn't say he was a surveyor, though. He told me that he was a part of a diplomatic delegation studying our agriculture.
The plot thickens. Continue.
Martok would have never let a Romulan set foot on our world. That's why I don't think much of Jimpak. He's too soft. The oddest thing I remember, other than him being a Romulan, was that he personally scheduled the delivery of goods to the farm. That is against our security procedures. Lady Sorella insists on authorizing all deliveries to the manor.
Continue.
However, his codes were valid. He had Lady Sorella's signature, so I did as he asked. His delivery arrived today. It's the large package we moved to the grain storage shed near the house of Martok's manor. Knep would know what was ordered. He handles most of Lady Sorella's business transactions.
Let us speak with this Knep. I want to know more about this package.
And now our surveyor is a diplomat. A Tal Shiar spy seems more likely.
And that didn't need to get said. Again, he's kind of let me put the stuff together myself. I mean, I understand this is a, again, it's an MMO. MMOs are hard to balance. But see, you could say, look for the gray-haired Klingon. Because you look at him, gray hair, black hair, kind of brownish, but black hair. So you could say he's the old Klingon at the back of the receiving area. Old Klingon at the back of the receiving area.
I processed that delivery. It was an order for the House of Martok. They needed explosives for digging out a new irrigation
order was placed by Lady Sorella with her signature and authorization codes. She must need the new irrigation channel badly. Normally, Sorella delays such tasks until the winter, when the farm hands aren't busy with planting and harvesting.
So, old guy knows this is irregular. Never checked with anybody. More Romulan treachery. We must deal with this at once.
This spy is clever, placing the explosives near the House of Martok's fertilizer stores. If he detonates them, the results will be devastating. I believe that device we found earlier was intended to be a trigger relay. Taking it out will slow the Romulan down, but it may not be enough to foil his plan.
Okay, agreed.
We should focus our search near the fertilizer shed. The spy will need a good vantage point to monitor the area before he triggers the detonation. Come, the hunt continues. Use your scanner to search for Romulan life signs.
And we didn't do this in the first place. Again, a smart show uses a lot of technobabble to make the people watching it feel smart. Video game holds your hand through the entire thing. It is time to put an end to this Romulan treachery. Move out. Again, you don't need to do that.
The signal is getting weaker.
Yeah, I already know. I wonder if they patched that. Oop, that was the wrong one to hit. What the? Ooh, new armor. Trace the spy. Getting stronger.
The signal is getting stronger.
Of course it is. Now, draw distance issues. Oh no, it's still loading? What? Okay, so Klingons right there, right? Watch this. In about 3, 2, 1. Agroseals. Oh, for some reason I thought they beamed him right there. So he's gonna beam in more Klingons.
By the ship.
Or
what is that Romulan doing?
Confront the assassin. I should have just shot him.
The House of Martok will crumble, and with it, the rest of the Klingon Empire. You cannot stop what has begun.
At least my hair looks better than yours. The words of an enemy and a fool. Attack!
Treacherous for shock! It's an ambush!
Okay, see how they're downstairs? Right next to a bunch of Klingons?
They're finished. Deal with that bomb before it kills us all.
And I love how they didn't explain what's in the fertilizer to make the bomb so bad. Right?
This ship, it is the Rotaran, the flagship of House Martok. That Romulan wanted to blow up more than fertilizer.
If he had succeeded.
It would have been a fatal blow, both to the house and its honor. Weecha. One thing is clear. Whoever is behind this plot has no honor. Not even a Fakiri would join forces with the Tal Shiar. It is madness.
Indeed. What's our next move?
We must continue the hunt, my friend. The Romulan still draws breath, and as long as he lives, our troubles will multiply. A piece of Bartok probably beamed up to a cloaked vessel in orbit. Let us return to your ship and see if we can find it.
Return the ship. I do love that they show them like typing on their wrists to get beamed up. But yeah, again, some of the dialogue just seems off. And I mean, it's not off like it's corny. It's off like William Shatner original acting. Come on, Spock, let us go to the spa. This Romulan, Bartok, wanted to blow up more than just fertilizer.
Ever since Gempok recognized the government on New Romulus, the number of Romulan ships in orbit over Kronos has increased. Most of them have legitimate reasons for being here. As a diplomat, I realize that harassing such a ship could lead to an incident. That's trouble we do not need.
So, first half of this, good. Second half of this should have been, I realize harassing such a ship could lead to an incident. Done. You don't need, that's trouble we do not need, because of course it's trouble we don't need. And most of them have legitimate reasons for being here. Okay, that could be left in or taken out. That's not that big of a deal. But as a diplomat, he's not a diplomat anymore. Not to mention, it's unnecessary. It's most of them have a legitimate reason for being here. I realize that harassing such a ship could lead to an incident. Agreed. We will be discreet in our search.
Very well. I am willing to continue, as long as you understand that discovering the vessel that holds our quarry will be difficult.
So, very well. I hope you understand that discovering the vessel that holds our quarry will be difficult. Done. And again, that's one of the issues I have with this game, is there's a lot of extra hand-holding and stuff. And things that are said, but not necessary to be said. Again, you want, 6 units South Hall, as opposed to there's 6 men in black uniforms down the hall to the south. See? Difficult, but not impossible. Scan for cloaked vessels. Should be difficult. Let's scan for cloaked vessels.
There's a lot of warp and impulse traffic in the area. It's too much for the scanners to handle, especially if we're dealing with a cloaked ship. That's assuming the ship is still in the system. They may have gone to warp as soon as the spy stepped off the transporter pad.
So, this time, the second paragraph is fine, because he's voicing a concern there. He's saying, assuming they haven't skipped sector as soon as the spy stepped off the transporter pad. That's fine, but, there's a lot of warp and impulse traffic here. There's a lot of traffic in this area. Our scanners can't handle it, especially if we're looking for a cloaked ship. See the difference there? And again, this is more... So, what they're doing is they're being very focused on being what's considered grammatically correct. They're using full sentences, they're explaining everything out, but it sounds very condescending. And that's one of the problems that I have with most grammar Nazis, is the reason they want to be grammar Nazis is they want to feel superior to you. That's the whole point. It's your, not your. When you speak it, there is no difference. When you write it down, it is the difference between you are and your. Right? well, it's kind of the same thing here, except, again, it feels condescending because it feels like your parent is holding your hand and going, it's not may I go to the bath, or it's not can I go to the bathroom, it's may I go to the bathroom. See what I mean right there? It's like, okay, just let me go to the bathroom. We're not done yet. Scan for Singularity Core emissions.
Ah, your intuition served us well, my friend. Scanners are detecting trace singularity distortions from the nearby asteroids. I believe a cloaked Romulan warbird recently entered warpfare. If we get a closer scan, I will be able to plot a course based on the warp trail signature.
Yeah. See, there. That was all fairly succinct and concise. Middle area was a little bit heavy, but the top one, pretty good. Now, if I was to tone it down a little bit, make it sound more like an actual person talking, it'd be, your intuition served us well. Do the scanners are detecting the trace singularity distortions from the nearby asteroid field. And then I believe should be showing a cloaked Romulan warbird recently entered warp there. And then if we get a close, and like I said, cut back a few words and stuff, and it will sound more like somebody actually speaking. Somebody being like, oh yeah, you know what? You were right. Right over there is where they left. Let's go. If you get me closer, I can trace them. Alright? I mean, Star Wars, or I did it again. Wow. Star Trek loves its technobabble, so having a little bit in there is perfectly fine. But this isn't technobabble. There is no, oh, you're right, the Singularity warp trail shows that a cloaked warbird left this asteroid field. If you get me closer, I can bombard it with tachyon particles that will, let us trace its trail all the way to its source. Helm, take us closer to the asteroids. And now I have to manually pump up my gas. Let's go cloak for now. That's praxis, isn't it? But yeah, it's a little bit of...
pursued by annoying Klingon insects. What are they called? Ah, yes. Glob flies.
Well... then maybe you shouldn't be trying to assassinate a Klingon house, huh?
As much as I would love to dance, I have a pressing appointment elsewhere. So let's change party.
Okay, so this one says this way. I do kind of hate the angle on the forward-facing guns. And see, that's cool. I love that they added that effect to it. Ah. Yay, shields down. Of course. See, and that's the thing, like, these ships are so freaking slow.
Let's see if we can follow the warp trail of the Romulan leader. Damn it! Ah, there it is. Warp trail detected. Sensor analysis indicates that the Romulan is headed for the Forcus system.
Well, you know what their forecast for today is? Death and destruction. They're going after Maven and your father.
Agreed. I believe Lady Sorella's suspicions were correct. The Romulans mean to kill Maven and anyone that gets in their way. Like my father. Both Maven and my father are formidable warriors, but even they can be overwhelmed by numbers and treachery. I must go to Forcus to warn them. Will you join me, my friend?
I will. Set course for the Forcus system. Maximum warp. Yeah. Again, the acting feels so halted. Again, it reminds me of the original series when Kirk first started acting in it. Or, what's his face? William Shatner. I believe Lady Sorella's intuition was correct. They mean to kill my father and Maven. They are formidable warriors, but even they can be overwhelmed by numbers and treachery. And then if it was Family Guy, he'd do the hoo-ha-ha from Johnny Bravo.
We have arrived in the Forcus system. The Warbird's warp trail ends here. She's out there, somewhere. Initiating sensor sweep now.
Very well. We should attempt to contact your father and warn him.
I've hailed him several times, but he has not answered. Either he is unable to respond, or unwilling to respond. Let us hope he is engaged with the Batleth tournament, and watching over Maven. We will need to beam down to the surface to know for certain, however.
Have we located the Warbird?
Yes, she is dropping into orbit over Forcus 3, and hailing us. It appears Commander Tarson would like a word.
Before I curse him out again, when did we learn that his name was Tarson? I mean, that's not just me, right? That never came up beforehand? Put the piece of Batog on screen.
You're becoming an annoyance. You have made yourself a target by defending the House of Martok. By following me here, you've given me no choice but to destroy you.
That'll be the day. All hands, battle stations. And cloak. See, the problem here is I am faster and more maneuverable than this ship. Or at least more maneuverable. So it's hard to make sure I'm keeping up with it, basically. Firing. You know what? Hold still.
He cloaked. Scan for energy traces so we can follow him.
Scan for residual energy traces. I love how he's giving the orders and then I'm giving the orders, like I'm the first officer instead of being the captain. And see, actually, this is perfect. This is a perfect example of where they could change up the writing to make you feel more competent. He should have said, they've cloaked, but it looks like we've damaged their, what is it? This thing. Their impulse engines or whatever. And then your character goes, scan for residual energy signatures. See what I mean? Makes you sound more competent. And that's what this game should really be trying to do. Is let the players feel like they're a competent person. And again, I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's a really good game. But it has some issues. And these issues are what's holding it back from being a terrific game. Like, honestly, I still would rate this game like 7 out of 10, despite all my complaints about it, because I played way worse games growing up. Heck, there are some games that are way worse even now. This game is actually really good. Really, like, it holds itself to a high standard as far as Star Trek content. And I said it correctly this time. But again, it has some of the weirdest hiccups that are holding it back, such as the writing. Not even as good as the shows. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the shows had some pretty awful writing. But, overall, again, I'd rather have this game than not have it. Let's put it that way. No matter how much grief I give it, I'd rather have the game than not have the game. And I do enjoy it. I love flying in this game. I mean, it could be better. Like, imagine with the way the bird of prey controls. Imagine if you were flying it like in Star Wars Squadrons, the new game that they released 3 years ago or so. In all honesty, I'm waiting for a game that combines some of the best aspects of different games. I would love a game like this, which I have one now, where you create your fleet and you can command your fleet to do different stuff, like in an RTS. I would love a game that has either Witcher or whatchamacallit, either the Witcher or the Assassin's Creed ground mechanics, right? So, like, the ability to run around, the really cool weapon stuff, right? So you take the flight stuff from the Squadrons and the which I believe means traitors, but I could be wrong. I don't actually speak Klingon. Although I should learn. And see, now I have to slow down because you want the chase position. Got him. There we go.
We must find him. Quickly.
And now I'm scanning for residual energy again. Smart. See, this time you didn't instruct me to do it. Which is what makes you feel like a competent player. I do love cloaking. Like, the battle cloak is one of the coolest things the Klingons have. But yeah, so if I was to design a game, I would have base building like Ark, and maybe even a taming system like Ark, or at least close. I'd reduce the time on it, in all honesty, and then give you a certain number of tames you could have. And then I would have the actual combat be closer to The Witcher or games like that, like Assassin's Creed, Witcher, you know. Then vehicle combat, I'd either go with Grand Theft Auto if there's ground vehicles, or Squadrons if there's air vehicles or space vehicles. Honestly, you could do both, you know? And then I would have... You know how certain games like The Witcher have where you hit a button and your character's stance changes up and that determines how they fight? I'd do the same thing, except it would be you'd have your melee weapon stance and your ranged weapon stance. Your ranged weapons basically turns the game into a first-person shooter. Whereas the melee weapons are, you know, left-click, right-click, heavy, light kind of attacks. Based around that, you could make a game with a ton of different mechanics that are all really fun to use. Right? Because you have your RTS type stuff where it's like, oh, I'm going to send my fleet out to do this, and then you take control of a single ship in the fleet, and you do combat that way. And then you have your allies around you. That's basically the gameplay from Gemini, Starpoint Gemini Warlords does that, where you're in command of a single ship, which you can switch out and everything, and you gather up your fleets around you and send them out to do battle. And that's going on around you. You'd probably want to put in a map mechanic where you can, like, designate objectives, essentially. So you can say, like, oh, we need to capture that carrier. So you mark that carrier for capture, and your fleet comes in, and they'll soften it up for you, or soften it up for your boarding crews to go and take care of it. And, like, you can be down there with your fleet flying around like in Squadrons.
You cannot stop what is already set in motion. The Klingon Empire will fall.
Yay! And there you are again. I love how it healed up a little bit because it went into cloak. Darn it. Got it. Now see, if they were smart, this is where this particular mission would end.
Larson may have beamed himself and his agents to the surface. He also has Klingon traitors aiding his cause. We have more work to do, my friend.
Let us beam down and attempt to contact Maven and my father before things get worse.
And again, this entire middle sentence, he also has Klingon traders aiding his cause, doesn't need to be there. It's Tarson may have beamed himself and his agents to the surface. We know about the traders already. We have more work to do, my friend. There you go. And then let us beam down and contact Maven and my father before things get worse. That's fine. But again, this entire middle sentence doesn't need to be there. And it breaks up the structure and makes it, while it makes it correct grammatically, makes it incorrect to actually hear. Because people don't talk like that. People do not use grammar in day-to-day speech. Right? And therefore, there's no... It sounds more like a robot reading something off than an actual person. And that's the issue I have.
Any Romulans here will be well hidden, but their Klingon allies will be able to move freely. Even so, someone might have noticed some unusual behavior. Let's start in the bar. Tongues loosened by blood wine may reveal clues we'd otherwise miss.
So, here. Any Romulans here will be well hidden. Even so, someone might have noticed some unusual behavior. Or, any Romulans here will be well hidden. Their Klingon allies will be able to move freely. Someone might have noticed something some unusual behavior. Let's start at the bar. Tongues loosened by blood wine may reveal clues we'd otherwise miss. See how the way I said it sounds more... I know, I'm not the best public speaker, but sounds more fluid and more natural than any Romulans here will be well hidden. But their Klingon allies will be able to move freely. Even so, someone might have noticed some unusual behavior. Any Romulans here will be well hidden. Even so, someone might have noticed some unusual behavior. That entire second sentence, again, doesn't need to be here. It's called an implied sentence. Or it's something that is implied by the fact that they have Klingon agents. Very well. I could use a drink myself. Honestly, not actually wrong. Especially considering that my throat is drying out already. So... I think it's this guy that I need to talk to. Question bar patrons. Bar patron.
Did you see Jim Puck when he was young and still fighting in the tournaments? Oh, now that was something to behold. He was masterful and fluent, not like the young tards here these days. I'm surprised that some of them can hold on to their badness for the entire match. Ah!
Now see, I could do it here, but overall not that bad. So the only one that I really see here is after Did You See Jim Pock? They should have chose one or the other, either when he was still fighting in the tournaments or when he was young. See, did you see him when he was young? Now that was something to behold. He was masterful and fluid, not like the young Targs here today. That implies that he fought in the tournaments. Or, did you see Jim Pock when he was still fighting in the tournaments? That implies that he was younger. So again, they're taking the inference out and spelling it out for you, which isn't something you want to do in games. And again, it's not that much of it's not that big of a deal. And the main reason I'm focusing on it is it gives me something to talk about. So let's see. Bar patron.
Wonderful! Another stout warrior eager to hear a story of my glory days in
Okay. Here, again. It should have been one or the other. Either my glory days implies he was in battle, or at least fighting in the tournaments, or from my days in battle. Implies that he found glory in it. And again, makes his sentence more fluid and sound more natural, especially from a drunk dude. I mean, come on. It should be wonderful. Another stout warrior eager to hear a story from my days in battle, or from my glory days. Pull up a chair and I'll allow you to honor me with some blood wine. You know, put a few slurs in there, stuff like that, and just shorten that up, because again, he's drunk. He shouldn't be able to speak that coherently. Especially since he would never say that in real life. He would say one or the other. He would say my days in battle or my glory days. Okay, this one. Again, another just short one. He looks like a real contender. He looks like a contender. Or, he looks like he could take the champion standing. More natural, more succinct, which means you're not talking as much. Again, from a writing standpoint, which I'm not a published writer, but I have studied writing. What they're doing is they're over-focusing on being grammatically correct and not actually focusing on how people should talk. Again, this feels more like it's from the early days of entertainment, where everything was spelled out for you, where they were establishing the world.
General Chang fought Dahar Master Kor, both in their prime fighting condition. Who do you think would take champion standing?
So, if General Chang fought Dahar Master Kor, both fighting in their prime, again, you don't need this, or both in fighting condition. So, again, you could erase this entire middle piece here, or you could erase the last two words to shorten it up a little bit and make it sound more natural. And again, I say it so that you guys can hear how it flows and stuff, right? And again, it's because when you're actually speaking, even now, I make mistakes all the time. I do not speak grammatically correct at all, because it's unnatural. It's not the way we learn language in the first place. And again, in my experience, the only people who are real niggly about that, like, are real niggly about grammar, are people who are using grammar to try and feel superior. They're the people who are like, well, you spelled that wrong. Outside of the context of, hey, I'm just making sure that I spelled everything correctly. Right? There's a difference between asking for somebody to spell check you and somebody just checking you for grammar and spelling. Especially, you know, if I'm writing dialogue, I'm not going to be writing it grammatically correct. I'm going to be including accents. I'm going to be using contractions. I'm going to be using the way people actually talk. You know, a cowboy walking up and saying, well, y'all, we better saddle up. That's not grammatically correct. That's also a horrible cowboy accent. I have trouble doing cowboy accents. But, you know, in a book, a cowboy isn't going to speak grammatically correct. Nor is something going to be grammatically correct when it's explained. You're not going to walk into this hall and say, you see a large triangular door with the red banners next to it and a red and gold carpet. The filigree makes up a geometric pattern. Technically, that's not a grammatically correct sentence, right?
And what do you think of the new rule we 120 centimeters.
And then, like, here, they didn't finish voicing. I personally won't use anything other than the traditional 1/16th centimeter length, but I can understand the desire for customization of one's weapons. Right?
Do you really think a Romulan would be foolish enough to beam down to an arena filled with hundreds of Klingon warriors? Besides, ever since that one tournament where the champion of the House of Mokai used a transporter to steal his opponent's bat'leth in the middle of a fight, there are transport inhibitors in place. The only places they can operate are the transport pads and cargo storage.
And see, here, I would have used the two NPCs talking, because he made it clear in his first sentence that he doesn't believe a Romulan would be that stupid enough to even beam down here. So why would he give me the rest of this information? Little bit of a lore dump there. Honestly, not too bad. It's hard to figure out a way to shorten this one up, just because, again, the bulk of it was an info dump. It was a nice little addition to the lore to tell you why the inhibitors are in place and why they can only beam into the cargo bay. But again, this first one shouldn't even be there. You remove that first sentence and you remove besides, because that first sentence isn't there. And it goes from him being doubtful of your claim but still providing information to him giving you a little bit of an info dump and then, speaking. This is why it should be two different people. It should be him being doubtful and then the guy talking to him being interrupting him and being like, well, ever since the tournament where the champion of the House of Mokai used a transporter to steal his opponent's bat'leth in the... And again, okay, there's where it could be shortened. These 6 words. Because you could cut that off at bat'leth and just have there are transport inhibitors in place. The only place they can operate are the transporter pads and the cargo storage. See? And that's how I'd shorten that up to make it more realistic. And again, you want two separate people saying two different things, because he's saying two different things right here. Technically 3, but you can kind of forgive him for combining 2. If they can only beam down to the cargo areas...
The enemy is devious, moving in disguise. Tactics worthy of House Mokai, but not a true Klingon warrior. If they're posing as cargo haulers, they will have access to the locker rooms where competitors store their gear. They need only wait there for Maven between rounds and strike when he least expects it.
We need to gain access to those rooms as well. I mean, again...
Hearing the chanting and sounds of bat'leths reminds me of the first time I celebrated the Kot Maval festival. That was the first time I remember understanding what it means to be a Klingon warrior.
Yeah. See, these guys are pretty cool looking. I love that face mask. But, yeah, it's just...
Nukhnech, speak quickly. I have a tournament to run, and little time for fools.
We require locker room access. Infiltrators may be present.
Access is limited to maintenance staff and competitors. If you have a security concern, take it up with security.
Are you not in charge here?
I am, and you will explain your impudence before I show you why I am in charge. The hard way.
See, the threat was already implied. You could take away why I'm in charge and just show you why the hard way. This is an urgent matter, Administrator.
There is another way. Is it still
Excuse
possible
me.
to enter the tournament?
I am ready to participate immediately. See, that is hilarious. That right there, coming from a human or a Vulcan that's on the crew, would have your audience rolling. Just, I mean, imagine Spock. I am ready to participate immediately. And then you start off the music. Ba, 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 ba.
Not as a competitor, but we do have an opening for an exhibition match. One of the fighters put enough blood wine in his gut to drop the Gorn King and had to withdraw. If you wish to take his place, I will allow it.
And see, that is fine. That is absolutely fine the way that they had that one parsed out. You get the condition, not as a competitor, but we have an opening for an exhibition match. Now you have the solution. Then you have a little bit of a info dump. One of the fighters put enough blood wine in his gut to drop the Gorn King. Not that bad. I mean, you could put drop to kill, or, you know, you could have just said one of the fighters drank enough to drop the Gorn King and had to withdraw. That's fine. And if you wish to take his place, I will allow it. See, that is perfectly fine. And even then, like, you know, like I said, you could change it up to make it a little bit more natural, but it sounded natural enough. And then, let it be so. I am eager for combat. Yeah, I like the other one better. I think if you said, I am ready to compete immediately, that should have been the end of the conversation. That should be here. Instead, like, yeah.
Then combat you shall have. No firearms are allowed. You must use a melee weapon. A bat'leth is preferred, but this is an exhibition, so you may use an unconventional melee weapon if you wish. Even one of those Vulcan lurpas they wave at each other in mating disputes. Ha!
Again, not one that you would change up too much, right? I mean, a little bit of an info dump. Kind of funny info dump, if you ask me, because it talks about the Vulcan Pomfar type stuff and makes fun of them. Very Klingon. A bat'leth is preferred, but you can use unconventional weapons if you wish. That's all they really needed to say there. That's it. But again, not that much that you can change, and already felt very fluid. They actually did a fairly decent job of writing her as an NPC. Enough talk. I am ready to fight. Okay, so compete.
Now, an exhibition match.
Enemy target on
Yep. She is doing good. She's countering me pretty hard. Nice.
Exhibition. Our next match will begin shortly.
Nice.
Ha! You fight well. Work on your form, and you might qualify for next year's tournament. You may use the locker rooms to clean up. Go. Should you have the courage, I will allow you the honor of buying me a blood wine later. Perhaps we will see if you drink as well as you fight.
Perhaps we shall. Quapla.
I said that I would tell you the story of how I came to be called Kemton. Kemton was the name of a warrior who saved my father from assassins on Maranga Ford. I used the name Kemton to honor his memory, to remind me of what it means to be Klingon.
That's very nice, Kimtar, but get off the stage. You're kind of in the way. But yes.
What's this? A globfly buzzes into these hallowed chambers? This is a place for competitors, insect! Begone!
I just completed an exhibition bout. Make way.
The insect buzzes still. I think it is time I stifled it permanently. Last chance, globfly. Leave on your own 2 feet or on the barge to Grethor. Your choice.
Again, succinct, pretty decent. I mean, he's just there to antagonize you, so overall, 9 out of 10 as far as writing for this character. Again, there's always room for improvement. That's why I'm going to say 9 out of 10. I mean, honestly, the your choice could be left out because it's implied, and it's not even a full sentence. So, like, they're really trying to be grammatically correct, but a full sentence includes at least 3 words. So, the choice is yours, 3 words, but your choice means that that should have been what is it called? An apostrophe? No, that's the one that goes up. I can't think of the word right now. But it should have been that little thing that shows a pause but not a period. Because that's one complete thought is all of this put together. Bold words to heck. Come and back them up. See, it's right there. That little cheeky mark. You put that right there, changes it up, and makes that a complete sentence.
More traitors in league with Tarson. They must be preparing to strike.
Yep. Okay, if I recall, yeah.
Maven has fallen to treachery. The House of Martok will have its revenge. He's using the field to weaken our energy weapons. Switch to a melee weapon.
No, thank you. I think I'll keep my distance from him. Yeah, that's working way better.
Tor, I need reinforcements.
Doggy sounds upset. Where did I get the rifle?
What is the meaning of this, Alexander? Maven was sent here to replace his equipment, and yet I find you here, surrounded by Romulans with the grandson of Martok dead at your feet. Explain yourself.
Yeah, no, that is actually pretty well written for the situation. The only problem I have is Worf was chief of security on the Starship Enterprise. He's been doing this job for years. And he's had to face Romulans before with Picard. He knows better than this. He's done better than this. In the show, he was one of the most competent security officers. So why is it now he is this basically doddering old man who's so stubborn he can't, like, even, he doesn't listen to his son or accept anything. He is just this. And, I mean, I get it. There's the... I love the name of this mission. Here we go again. Like, a lot of the mission's titles are puns, which is... That's a nice touch. But, I mean, this is Worf we're talking about. They made a huge deal about getting Worf's voice actor to actually voice Worf when they made these missions. So why make him so incompetent? They could have made it where... They should have reversed roles. Oops. So, Worf should be in Kimtar's position. Kimtar should be in Worf's position. Because Worf has already made these mistakes and learned from them. He doesn't do them anymore. Kimtar has not. This was not Kimtar's doing.
Lady Sorella feared that you alone would not be able to keep her grandson safe. We followed these Romulans here, and would have stopped them had these halls not been filled with Klingon traitors. And where were you when these assassins struck?
But, yeah, either they should have reversed roles, so Worf is yelling at Kimtar about not being where he was supposed to be, and you could have Kimtar being distracted by an Orion, a Romulan that offered to buy him blood wine, because he is, if I recall, Kimtar is actually part human. I know, right? Or any number of things that would get a young person in trouble. Or Worf should have been the mission contact. He should have been the one as Gintak who stayed behind with Cirilla and was giving you instructions on finding the Romulan spy, and then coming here with where Kimtar was defending Maven, and then you find both of them here being ambushed, right? Or like one of the agents of House Torg convinced Kimtar to leave and look at something. Maybe there was a bomb threat he went to take care of, leaving Maven exposed, which is what the Romulans wanted, because Romulans are supposed to be devious and genius. So there are so many ways to get around this and make it make a lot more sense without making Worf seem incompetent. Both of you stop. We must focus on finding the real enemy.
I see you have been listening to my son's conspiracy theories again. He talks of peace and uniting the houses. Yet, here he is, with a blade in his hand, looking for glory. I told you I wanted nothing to do with this.
He says, as his charge is lying dead at his feet, surrounded by Romulans we warned him about. See the problem here? Okay, with respect, sir, we have proof that another house is behind us. Again, it's so weird that they do this. So, one, you're not supposed to have two of these in the same sentence, because that's a double pause. It's, with respect, sir, we have proof that another house is behind us. With respect, sir, then you put the little chicky mark. We have proof that another house is behind us. With respect, sir, we have proof that another house is behind us. Should only be one of those at either respect or sir, not both. And again, it's weird because, like I said, I'm not that big on grammar issues. But if there's going through this much trouble to try and make this part grammatically correct, why aren't they doing it here? And that bothers me because that shows a degree of laziness or half-assedry. Um, Honestly, I think it's the editors. Whoever, because you think about it, somebody programmed this to be said right here. Then they send it in to be approved as far as the script. Whoever approved the script approved it with these errors or with the extra parts that are unneeded.
While you were here at the tournament, assassins moved against Lady Sorella at her own estate. If we hadn't tracked down this agent and disarmed his explosive, she would be dead as well. At every step, we have encountered Klingons hiding in the shadows, with blades at our backs.
Again, this could be a really cool mission showing like Worf and his son actually working with each other to protect the house that they love as opposed to at each other's throats. Had they just Worf stay behind with Lady Cirilla, we come with Kimtar to protect her son. But we're too late. Or Worf comes with us, Kimtar is already here, and something happened that drew him away that gave the assassins their opportunity. Neither man's fault, because right now it is all on Worf. We told him there was a plot against his house. He ignored us. We told him Romulans was involved. He ignored us. Something went wrong at the Bat'leth tournament, and instead of going in with him, he let him go in by himself. And at the same time, Worf left the lady of the house unprotected. That is failures on all levels. That is a level of incompetence that me, with 8 hours of security guard training, know is a bad idea. Like, this is like some of the... And again, it's with people's favorite character who was chief of security on the Starship Enterprise. And has fought Romulans before. He knows how devious they are. What Kimtar says is the truth. We must find these traitors and put an end to this plot.
I have not seen this evidence, but I believe what you say. We will get to the bottom of this. That does not mean we can act rashly. If there were Klingons aiding these agents, then we are still in danger.
If we uncover the identity of this rival house, then they will be forced to act in the open where we can fight them head on. Again, both written concisely and succinctly, and you can actually imagine both characters actually saying this stuff.
Agreed. A great house conspiring with the Tal Shiar to assassinate other Klingons. And it is not just a theory. How high does the corruption go?
And again, Worf just accepted what his son has been saying for years now, it seems. And yet, they still added this middle sentence. And they hyphenated it instead of, which is, again, a weird choice. And it was approved. We will uncover this threat together.
Sorella and the rest of the House of Martok will mourn for her grandson. But I must also see that security remains a priority. To start, I am sending you a recruit from our house, the warrior Belera. She's been personally trained by me, and will aid your crew as we fight against the House of Torg.
Alright, continue.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
My former jailers were from that house.
Okay.
At least, before we sent them to Greppel on the frozen tundra of Rurapente. You have fought with me this far, my friend. Will you see this through to the end? Help me serve House Torg, a dish colder than the gulag they used to command.
Okay, it will be an honor. Let's go. And I think I'm gonna end it here. My throat is getting kind of itchy. Also, I need to think of other things to say than pointing out, like, issues with the writing. I mean, like I said, I do really enjoy this game.
The idea that one of the great houses is conspiring with Romulans to attack House Martok is troublesome. Come to the Kethel Lowlands. Worf and I would be honored if you would participate in Leven's Hecate. Once we have put our family matters to rest, you may work with Worf and Kemtar to determine our plan of attack.
Okay. I will accept that.
Serve the Empire well.
Exit. Okay. Like I said, it is currently 11:49. That's almost 3 hours of streaming. So I'll go ahead and leave it here. Tomorrow, I will be streaming Starpoint Gemini Warlords again. Like I said, if you want to like just quick hop over to my YouTube channel, leave me a comment, say, hey, I enjoyed this episode, or if you want to just be like, hey, I want to see the campaign for this game, or that I own. Like, I will let you know which games I own. I have X4, I have, I'm working on Genesis Alpha 1, which I'll be doing Thursday, and maybe Friday? Thursday and Friday? But, yeah, alright. Well, like I said, I am going to go ahead and end it here, and I should actually be on this screen for right now. But overall, have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow.